Brown-Sequard syndrome. Now in this topic what we'll do is we'll go through all these things and we'll be clear about this topic. So Brown-Sequard syndrome, it is a condition due to hemisection of spinal cord. Okay, for example, let's say that this is our spinal cord, right? The transverse section of spinal cord. Now what is going on here is there is hemisection of spinal cord. Hemisection means that means half of the spinal cord is what? Damaged. Half of the spinal cord is damaged. This can be because of what? Because of stab wound, right? Somebody stabbed, and because of bullet, right? Because of expanding tumor of our spinal cord. So this half of the spinal cord is what? It is damaged. Now because of this damage, what are the changes that we'll see? What are the changes that we'll see? It is what? It is a hemisection, what? Incomplete transection of spinal cord. Okay, now to know about various features, we need to know that what are the different tracks in this spinal cord and how they are projecting. So now here, okay, this is the transverse section of spinal cord. Now in this transverse section of spinal cord, we need to know that there are two tracks, mainly two tracks, right? One is our dorsal column pathway or dorsal column track, and another is anterolateral pathway or what? Anterolateral track. Dorsal column pathway, what it will do is it will just ascend upward, right? It is originating right here, and from this point of origination, what it will do is it will go to its side of spinal cord, and it will ascend upward to the same side of its origination. But our this anterolateral pathway or spinothalamic track, what it will do is it will, from this point of origin, what it will do is it will dissociate, it will move into another side, and then it will ascend upward. Okay, it will ascend upward. That means if this part of spinal cord will be damaged, right? If this part of spinal cord is damaged, then what will happen? Our this dorsal column pathway of this side will be damaged, and anterolateral pathway which was carrying sensation to opposite side will be also damaged. That means there are several sensation that are carried by our this dorsal column pathway, and there are several sensation carried by our this anterolateral pathway. That means if there will be injury in this left half, right? If there will be injury in this left half, then what will happen? There will be loss in sensation, right? Loss in sensation carried by there will be loss in sensation on same side, right? On same side carried by what? Carried by dorsal column pathway, but there will be loss in sensation of the senses carried by anterolateral pathway on the opposite side. Okay, now here, yes, I'll again repeat it again. What is this? This is our spinal cord. Now in this spinal cord, what is this? This is our dorsal column pathway that is ascending on the same side of its origin, and there is anterolateral pathway that will just move into another side, that will dissociate into another side and then move upward. Now if this part of spinal cord is damaged, then what will happen is that on this side of body, what will happen? The various senses that are carried by dorsal column pathway will not be carried, and the anterolateral pathway, the sensation carried by anterolateral pathway will not be functioning on this region. Not only that much, but if this region is damaged, then obviously you will see that this, what is this? This is anterolateral pathway of this side, right? Of this side. Now this anterolateral pathway which was moving on this side will be also damaged. That means damaging of this region will cause what? It will cause loss in sensation carried by our this dorsal column pathway, right? On the same side, anterolateral pathway on the opposite side, and anterolateral pathway, right, on the same side also. That means on the same side we have no any sensation. On the same side we have no any sensation. That means every sensation is lost. The sensation carried by dorsal column pathway, the sensation carried by anterolateral pathway, which is dissociating on this side, right? But on the opposite side, what we will find is on the opposite side, the sensation carried by dorsal column pathway is still it is still being carried, because this side is not damaged, right? But but the sensation carried by anterolateral pathway, which is coming from opposite side, will not work. That means on the opposite side, only the sensation that will not cross or that will not dissociate will persist. I think we are clear about these things a bit. Now what are the sensation carried by dorsal column pathway? Now talking about the sensation carried by our dorsal column pathway or dorsal column track are our conscious proprioception, fine touch, pressure, vibration, stereognosis, right? It is our capability to touch and to touch and identify the object which are without actually watching it or viewing it. Now these are what? These are the sensation carried by dorsal column tract. Now anterior lateral spinothalamic tract, right? Anterior lateral tract. Now the sensation carried by anterior what lateral tract are our what? Pain, temperature, crude touch and pressure, right? Okay, now now okay, the same thing again. Hemisection of spinal cord, right, is our brown Sequard syndrome. Now same side means ipsilateral, and there will be same side, right? Same side loss of what? Same side means ipsilateral loss of what? Our dorsal column function. We know the dorsal column function. What are the dorsal column function? Yes, these are our proprioceptions, fine touch, pressure, vibration and sternognosis, right? And opposite okay, if the lesion is on left side of spinal cord, then there will be left side loss of proprioception, left side loss of fine touch, left side loss of vibration. These are all what? These are all our the function of dorsal column tract. Now opposite side contralateral, opposite side is called contralateral, and there will be contralateral loss of anterior lateral pathway. Now what are the function of anterior lateral pathway? These are pain and temperature. Okay, now this is for understanding. I hope that you are clear about it. Now what we need to do is, now when there will be a question to write about brown Sequard syndrome, we need to what? We need to write in organized way. Now what we can do is, now we can just divide it on what? On two parts. One is at the level of lesion. Now what will happen at the level of lesion, and what will happen below the level of lesion? Now talking about the level of lesion, on the same side, right? On the same side as, right? Okay, on the same side means on this side, right? Now as we have said that on the same side also will divide into sensory change and motor change. On the same side that I have mentioned, that there will be what? There will be no work of this track also, there will be no work of this track also, because the one that was coming from opposite side will be damaged as it come in this side, because this part is totally damaged. So there will be complete anesthesia, right? There will be the sensory change will be completely anesthesia. Now what about the motor change? Now motor change, right, on the same side. Now talking about the motor change on the same side at the level of what? At the level of injury, what we will see is the lower motor neuron that are supplying different muscle will get damaged. That means there will be the condition of lower motor neuron lesion type, right? And we have already discussed in our previous video that lower motor neuron lesion, what are the characteristics of lower motor neuron lesion, right? Lower motor neuron is what? Directly connected to muscles. As there will be no innervation to muscles, what will happen? There will be what? Atrophy condition, decrease in muscle mass. There will be what? The decrease in tone, decrease in reflexes. Babinski sign will be negative. We have discussed about this Babinski sign also. And there will be fasciculation, twitching of muscles, and flaccid paralysis will take place. Okay, this was what? This was about the same side. Yes, we're talking about the same side, right, at the level of injury. Now what about the opposite side at the level of injury? In opposite side we are clear, right? What we are clear is that this talking about opposite side, right? Opposite side, this talking about the sensation, this will not work. That means anterior lateral pathway will not work, only this will work. Dorsal column tract, dorsal column pathway, that which is not dissociating. Now let's go here. Now on the opposite side, what? Sensory change, sensation lost carried by cross track. Yes, we said sensation lost carried by lost track. This cross track, right? Cross track, which is dissociating. That means anterior lateral spinothalamic tract function will be lost, such as crude touch, pain, temperature, pressure, right? But the sensation is retained of what? By uncrossed tract, such as dorsal column tract. Dorsal column tract, the function is our unconscious conscious proprioceptions, fine touch, pressure, vibration. Okay, now what about the motor change, right? Now talking about the motor change, now this motor change, there is no paralysis, because in the opposite side there is no paralysis, right? It is very mild. There will be, if paralysis is present, then it will be very mild. Now this was at the level of lesion. Now what about below the level of lesion? Now talking below the level of lesion, that means, okay, now here we have got other spinal cord like this. We have got other spinal, okay, we have got here another spinal cord, another spinal cord. Now talking what? Talking below the level of what? Below the level of injury. That means at these levels. Now in this level, what will happen is that the dorsal column tract that are present in this spinal cord, what? They need to ascend upward. Now while ascending upward, there is what? There is damage in this region, because of which talking same side, on the same side, what? There will be what? There will be loss in ipsilateral what? Ipsilateral pathway, such as the loss in function of dorsal column pathway, right? As you can see. Now another thing is that now in this see talking about the same side, right on the same side, if we will see the anterior lateral pathway, what it will go like this and it will just dissociate into another side and then it will move upward, right? That means this anterior lateral pathway that is moving into another side will not be damaged, right? It will not be damaged, and this is one important thing that we need to know, right? This was about same side. Okay, let's go into this chart. Talking about the same side, right? Talking about the sensory function, sensation will be lost carried by uncrossed track. As I have said, the dorsal column track, which was moving upward, upper region of spinal cord, the spinal cord that is present right here will be damaged, because of which it will not be passed, and as it will not be passed, there will be sensation lost, right? Such as conscious proprioception, fine touch, pressure and vibration. So this is about that thing. But the sensation is retained carried by cross track, right? The sensation which are carried by cross track will be retained below the lesion. Now talking about motor lesion, the motor lesion that will correspond right here is, okay, since we're talking like this, right? Here if there is injury in this place, then here the motor for this, right, for this region, let's say for this lesion, this upper part which is damaged, the upper part which is damaged is considered as what? It is considered as upper motor neuron, right? Now here this is our lower motor neuron that is connecting with muscle. So in comparison to this level, this upper level is what? Upper motor neuron. So now talking about the motor function in this region, right, lower to the damage of spinal cord, what we will say that the motor function correspond to the upper motor neuron lesion type, right? And we know the various characteristics of upper motor neuron lesion. Now talking on the opposite side, as I have already said, sensory, right, sensation lost carried by crossed track, right? Sensation lost carried by crossed track. Why? Because in this lower region, right, what it will do is it will just the anterior lateral spinothalamic tract, it will just move and it will dissociate right here and then ascend upward. As it will ascend upward, there will be loss in what? There will be loss in sensation carried by it, because it will reach the damaged area and it will not be passed through that region. So what we said is sensation lost by crossed track, such as anterior lateral spinothalamic tract. And what are the sensation it carries? It carries crude touch, pain, temperature, pressure, right? And the sensation are retained because what? Because below this region, the one that are just not dissociating and moving upward directly, they will be retained because there is no effect to them, such as dorsal column tract, the sensation carried by dorsal column tract, like conscious proprioceptions, fine touch, pressure, vibrations. And talking about the motor change, the same. Okay, I'm sorry, yeah, we are right here. Okay, and talking about the motor change, it is same. It is very mild paralysis or no paralysis at all. So this was about Brown-Sequard syndrome. I hope we are clear about it.